And it's a very good morning to the Gelding. Gelding, we're back. We're back after a week off and racing at Caulfield.
Good morning, Professor. Good morning, listeners. Yes, back from a week sojourn where you ventured north for the football.
Yes, Gelding, and it was a most unsuccessful trip north. 0-2 from the two games we went to have a look at.
Oh, very, very good, Professor. But it was round zero was a bit like that, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a little bit like that, Gelding. I did enjoy sitting in the Stein Hotel at Manly looking out over the Pacific though for about 2.5 hours. That was very nice.
Well, that's a hard life you're leading there, Professor. Hey? Very hard life you're leading.
Yes, well, somebody's got to do it, Gelding.
Exactly, Professor. Could you get into the Manly lifestyle, could you?
No, I don't think so, Gelding. I don't think so. No. It's great to visit and have a look at, but I think I'm now too old to keep up the pace.
Right. The beach life, the coffee set, the Chardonnay during the day, or the Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, maybe 20 years ago, Gelding. I found the pace a bit
quick,
a bit brisk.
I'm sure you would have had someone there to look after you, Professor.
Oh yes. The princess from Traralgon, she was there by my side.
Right. How did she take the GWS venture?
Oh no, she's since winning the premiership last year, Gelding, she's become very reasonable.
Content.
Yes, content. It looked like a few of the Collingwood players were content too.
Yes, I'll bit still in 2023.
I think they're still basking in the warmth, Gelding.
Oh well, they're a very big club, Professor. So when they celebrate, they celebrate. But yes, a very slow start for them this football season.
Yeah, you've heard it here first, Gelding. I don't think they'll go back to back.
Yeah. Possibility of a GWS Sydney Grand Final.
Well, Carlton might be in the mix too, Gelding.
Carlton, and yeah, okay, yeah.
Well, they looked after your mob only just though.
Oh, I wouldn't say they were. I would have said Sydney and GWS have been a little bit more impressive than Carlton have been in there, even though they have got 2 wins.
Yeah, just throwing him in the mix, Gelding. Just throwing him in the mix.
All right, stirring that pot, Professor.
Yeah, I'm good for that. All right, Gelding. As I said, racing at Caulfield today. It's a 10 race card. The first is at 12:15. The last at a very reasonable 5:35. Not too late. We've still got daylight saving. The feature race 8, Gelding, the All-Star Mile. It's an open race over 1,600 metres for 3.75 million. Now, Gelding, answer me this. 3.75 million, it's an open race.
Yes.
How come it's not a Group 1?
Can't be a Group 1.
Right.
Because it's by invite only, Professor. You have to be invited by Racing Victoria to run into it. So our horse, if we wanted to enter it, we could nominate it, but they've got to accept the invite before it doesn't go through the normal rankings of anything like that. One of these pop-up races, Professor, that's becoming very, very, very trendy of late. Like, here we're talking about Group 1s previously. I'll get on the soapbox again. Group 1 previously with hundreds of years of history in racing, and they can't even make $1 million. Here we've got a pop-up race with a history of 4 or 5 years, and the prize money is $3,750,000. What's wrong with, say, making it a $1 million race or a $1.5 million race and having $2 million to add to the Newmarket, the Oakley Plate? But anyway, Professor, that's my beef with race clubs at the moment.
Gelding, you're preaching to the converted. Track's a good 4, rails out 6 metres. What are your two best bets for this afternoon's meeting?
Professor, firstly, the warning, the watch on Caulfield racetrack and the pattern that may happen, which seems to be a very popular thing at Caulfield. So normally favours the leaders and on-pace runners. The last couple of races, they've been coming down the centre of the track, Professor. So I've gone for what I think are probably two of the better horses of the day. I'm going for a Hayes double, Professor. Both horses are short, but hopefully in a parlay will be nice and sweet. My first tip is race 6, number 2, Bold Bastille, trained by Ben Will and J.D. Hayes, to be ridden by Mark Zara. Look, Professor, a bit short at the moment, round about the $1.70, but this horse over 1,100. It's a very fast, speedy horse, Professor. So I'm hoping it gets out there or sits on pace and can just swoop on them. This was their Blue Diamond horse, Professor, but it failed in one of the preludes. It's won 2 of its 3 races, Professor, over the distances of 1,000. It steps up to 1,100 today, but I still think it may be too speedy for them. My second bet, and what I think is the best of the day, how can you go past it in the All-Star Mile? Race 8, number 1, Mr. Brightside. Been in spectacular form, Professor. Won its last 2 races this preparation. Both Group 1 races. It won the All-Star Mile last year. Its form, third up over a mile, is impeccable. Doncaster's All-Star Miles. Horses had 31 starts for over $12 million, Professor, and 16 wins, going at 50%. How can you back against it? Again, round about the 170, 180 at the moment. So what I would suggest is possibly the Hayes Brothers parlay or the Hayes Brothers double, Professor. And you like?
Gelding, I'm going earlier than you today. Race 1, the Victoria Gold Cup, listed race over 2,000 metres. I'm liking this one, Gelding. Horse number 3, Muramasa, coming out of barrier 3. It's had 12 starts for 4 wins and a placing. So a 33% win rate, a 42% place rate. It's back in class, Gelding. It's won 2 Group 3 races last year. The first one was the Coonji over 2,000 metres at Caulfield, and the second one was the Queen Elizabeth Stakes at Flemington. What I like about this horse, Gelding, especially, it's won over the distance and it's won at the track. The favourite, Carini, beat at home last outing, but that was only over 1,600 metres. I think the extra distance will find out the favourite, Gelding. So that's one of my theories for the day. Hopefully it's a good theory. The other thing is that...
It's a theory day, is it?
Yes, Gelding. The other thing we look at is Miramasa's won nearly $500,000 in stakes money. Carini's won the same amount of races, 4, but it has less than half the stakes money. So clearly Miramasa's run in the better races and won them. So Daniel Moore's in the saddle.
Yep.
Got no problems with him, and trained by Trent Basutin and Natalie Young.
Good tip, Professor. I like it.
And at the present fixed, Gelding, and I'd suggest get on now, $5 and $2.20. So great each way odds.
Oh, in a 7-horse field, Professor.
Yes, Gelding. So a lot to like about it.
So we're hoping the 1 or the 2, Professor.
Yeah, we're hoping the 1 or the 2. Our fingers are crossed. Gelding, the second selection, race 3, the Solutions Handicap over 1,200 metres for 3-year-old and above. It's a benchmark 70. Number 10, Wolfie, Gelding, is my selection in this one, coming out of a very nice barrier 4. Had 7 starts for 2 wins and 2 placings. 29% win rate, 57% place rate. I wrote down, Gelding, about this course when I first made my notes about it. It's back in class. Well, let me tell you, it's way back in class.
Way back in class.
A benchmark 70. It started in a Group 3 weeks ago in the Zetative at Caulfield. Last October, it started in a Group 1 in the Caulfield Guineas, Gelding. So if the ownership think that this horse has that ability, then the benchmark 70, Gelding, theoretically, should present no problems at all for this horse.
You would think so, Professor. Look, yeah, look, I agree with you, Professor. This horse had the real the vibe about it coming into the Caulfield Guineas after a couple of wins, Professor. So, hopefully this horse, the way they were talking it up before the Guineas, it was a potential champion. So let's hope it can, all of a sudden they've dropped it back in class, and let's hope over the 1,200 metres, Professor, not a worry?
No, I don't think so, Gelding.
Right.
Class will show out.
Right. Yeah, well, I'm with you, Professor. I like it.
All right, and I got on last night, Gelding, when it was $5 and $2.40 fixed. It's not $5 this morning, Gelding. When I last looked, it was down to $3.80 the win. So,
well done, Professor. Good shopping.
So there's been a bit of love for Wolfie. I think it might go better than people think.
Look, Professor, as you said, one good thing, if the class of horse it's meeting is nowhere where it's been in the last two runs. So you would hope that it should be too good for them.
The other thing, Gelding, I didn't mention at the top of the program is that going through all the fields today, they are very small fields for a main day of racing in the metropolitan area. I think the first 4 or 5 races, Gelding, if you're not in the first 2, you're not going to get a div.
Exactly, Professor. Out of the first 7 in the first race, 7 in the second race, 7 in race 4, 7 in race 5, Professor. What does that tell you?
Maybe they shouldn't have had the midweek meeting, Gelding.
Maybe, yes, Professor. Look, the opener's a listed race over 2,000 metres and you're getting 7 horses in it. Just tells you there's too much racing, doesn't it?
It does, Gelding.
Yeah, anyway, yep, let them worry about that. They'll tell you they're doing a great job.
Yes, they will, Gelding. All right, so my 2 selections for today's racing, race 3, horse 10, Wolfie, and race 1, horse 3, Muramasa. Now, we turn to the Professor's Parlay, Gelding, which, let me say, I thought that we should have got the win and the place parlay up last time. We only got the place parlay up. Riff Rocket third, Gelding. Tell me about Riff Rocket running third. Now, I would have thought on an even day of racing that maybe Riff Rocket could have won that race.
Were we willow, Professor?
I don't know. It hurt the hip pocket, Gelding. I thought we were certainties for a win and place parlays beaten. But as the judge says, the jockey on the mount only makes about 20% difference.
Yeah,
only has 20% input. It's the horse.
Yeah, I think the judge. Anyway, we won't say too much about that. We'll just tend to disagree with the percentages that the judge puts on it. This horse just got way too far back, Professor, and was coming home extremely well to run into third place. But again, another hobby horse. Jockeys have got to put these horses into a position where they have a chance of winning the race, Professor.
Yes, correct, Gelding.
Surely if you're on the favourite in a main race like that, it'd be interesting to see whether Willow was on the horse next start.
Yes. All right. Well, Gelding, it was Riff Rocket into the LA Clippers, who won, into the Cleveland Cavaliers, who won. So perfect I'm perfect in the NBA this season, Geldings, which is I'm very happy about that.
Professor, your tips in the sporting events has just been fantastically accurate. The only one that worries me, of course, is the EPL, and I'm glad that you're standing clear of that today. But yeah, look, you've been on fire, Professor. It's just fantastic. And if we hadn't have been Willowed, we might have got, as you said, more money for the listeners.
Exactly, Gelding. So the place parlay paid a nice $11.25.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very handy. So we had a winning day anyway with the parlay.
We had a winning day. It's a story of what could have been, Professor.
Oh, always, Gelding. That's racing.
That's racing.
All right, today's parlay, Gelding. The agreed bet of the day between you and I is race 8, horse 1, Mr. Brightside. And the reason it's the agreed bet of the day is for all the reasons you gave earlier in the program. And let's parlay that into the AFL's back, Gelding. So how about we have a lash at the AFL?
Beautiful.
I think two winners we've got here. Greater Western Sydney playing at home, Gelding, to beat North Melbourne. I think that goes without saying. If Greater Western Sydney are going to make finals and be in top 4, which I think they're aiming for this year, then they've got to win games like this and win them well.
Yep.
We've got a form guide to go on. They beat Collingwood last week, but hey, Collingwood lost again, so maybe that's not such a great form guide. But I think Collingwood will be one of the better sides. They just aren't starting well. And let's parlay that into Port Adelaide at home to beat the West Coast Eagles. We know the West Coast Eagles very disappointing last year, and really, let's face it, I don't think that they've improved enough over the off season to trouble Port Adelaide at home. The win parlay currently showing 2-1. The place parlay currently showing 3-2.
Very attractive, Professor. And again, I like your selections in the football. As I said, GWS starting off fantastically well. They looked very impressive last week. Port Adelaide's first game against a side that was very disappointing last year, and even though they've got the number 1 recruit, I think they're still going to be a fair way off them.
Yeah, I think that's right, Gelding. I think that's right. All right, Gelding. Well, you're on a 2-week break, taking a very well-earned break.
The sabbatical this week, so you'll be flying alone, or
yes, I'll be. There'll be That's Racing, and I'll be all by my lonesome. So I'll be talking quickly. Amazingly, Gelding, when I'm doing the program, it's about 15 minutes shorter.
But Professor, surely in your profession, you're used to talking and embellishing out the stories, and
I'm used to telling stories, Gelding. Embellishing, I don't know.
Not embellishing.
No.
Highlighting probabilities.
Highlighting theories, Gelding. Highlighting theories.
Beautiful, Professor.
Well, listen,
I love it.
Gelding, you enjoyed your well-earned break, and hopefully we'll do very well at Caulfield. Until next Saturday with me on my lonesome, good luck.
And good